So every once in a while, I get some questions from people about what kind of toaster oven to buy, because I have so many videos about recipes from my Pop It in the Toaster Oven cookbook, which you can buy anywhere, and the people get wondering if they don't have a toaster oven, what kind of toaster oven should they buy? And actually, I don't have a recommendation. I mean, there are a lot of really good brands out there. I have a Cuisinart, but I think there are a lot of really good brands. One thing that I would recommend is going online and researching the brand names and just seeing what the warranties are and what the features are. And one thing that I do have in my cookbook is about buying a toaster oven, and it actually starts out with a brief toaster oven history. They came on the market around the 1950s, and were pretty much just kind of an elaborate. Over the years, toaster ovens have developed into a really wonderful appliance. One thing I wanted to read, I think that when I started to make these recipes, I wasn't really aware of it, and it wasn't until I made these recipes and tested them that I found out what the advantage to using a toaster oven and baking is. And what I write in my book is the first benefit of baking a potato in the toaster oven is that the flavor is so much better than if it were microwaved. And baked vegetables are more flavorful and have a better texture than the bland taste and rubbery texture that microwaving, boiling, or steaming often produces. And this is because the baking allows moisture within the food to slowly evaporate and concentrates the flavors within the fiber of the food itself. The high direct heat of broiling seals the surface of the food, creating a browned crusted surface while the center is flavorfully moist. The second advantage is minimal involvement. Once you have prepared your food, you can let your toaster oven do the rest. In less than 1 hour, you can have a low-fat, highly flavorful meal, and most of my recipes are like that. The ingredients, if you've tried them, then you know, the ingredients are put together, sometimes just all go into a bowl, and then into a pan, and popped into the toaster oven, and then the timer is set and off you go. Take a bath, help the kids with homework, whatever, and then your meal will be done. The timer will go off and you can. I also have in the beginning of my cookbook the various utensils and size of the cooking, the bakeware that you'll need, whether it would be metal, aluminum or steel, or oven-proof Pyrex or Corning. All of the sizes are in here, and then just basically a whisk, a large spoon, and tongs are the utensils that I am talking about here. I talk a little bit about cleaning your toaster oven. Most toaster ovens have a coating in the interior that makes it easy to clean. What you don't want to do is wait. Once you have baked and notice that something is splattered on the walls, let the toaster oven cool and then wipe down the interior walls. Unplug it first and then wipe it down, only because if you leave that there on the interior walls, it'll just bake on and it'll be almost impossible to take off. There are, I think, some brands that do have a removable interior. I don't know much about those, but you might want to check those out as well. And then I have explanations on what the various toaster oven functions are, thawing, how you can thaw things from your freezer in the toaster oven, or toasting, which is a really fabulous setting because the elements on the top and the bottom are going full tilt. at the same time, and I found that I can do all kinds of pancakes and sunny side up eggs and all kinds of things on that setting. And then of course there's the baking setting and the broiling setting. So basically all of these settings are just like you would find in a large stove. The difference is that you're using a third to half of the energy that you would use in a regular stove. I have a little index here. A lot of my recipes are very low in fat, healthy recipes. And I have some an index saying that if you generally use, for instance, cream, you could use fat-free half and half. If you use butter, you could substitute with non-hydrogenated margarine, and so on. With the more fattening ingredients, I have a recommendation for a lower fat companion to that. So there's also an index on estimated toaster oven broiling times for anything from 4 chicken thighs, 2 apples, pumpkin pie, soup. Yep, they're all in here. That'll give you an estimated time. Toaster ovens do vary, so once you get acquainted with your toaster oven, or if you're not sure, you'll want to test it just to make sure that the temperature is even inside and that it's close to what the recipe says. But if you haven't used this recipe before, any of the recipes in here, I would say be a little cautious and maybe don't put it on to the full time to see how your toaster oven behaves. Sometimes people are confused thinking that a toaster oven is a microwave and you can just zap things. No, it is an oven for sure. So regular baking times in a large oven, they're going to be pretty compatible to baking times in a toaster oven as well. So when I wrote this cookbook, I did quite a bit of research on various brands and compared, although I don't recommend any brands in here, but like I say, if you go online, toaster ovens range these days from $30 to $300. There's a wide variety. I would say check the warranty. And then you want to look for certain features. And depending on where you are, where it's going to go in your kitchen and how you're going to use it. So you want to check out the features to see what you want. And they're not really, toaster ovens are not really all that standardized. Some come with certain features and others don't. I guess it depends sort of on the price. One thing that I will recommend is that I would recommend getting a 4 to 6 slice size toaster oven, and that will bake a approximately 3.5 pound chicken. I find that if you have a larger toaster oven, you can do a lot more with it. If it's smaller, you're quite limited, and many times you have to adjust recipes to very, very small portions. So especially if there are a couple of members in your family, or even if there are 2 of you, I would say go for a 4 to 6 slice toaster oven. Some of the other things that are in toaster ovens these days that are really nice features are like a cool touch exterior. Not all of them have it. Just depends on whether you want it or not, but there are ones that have features like that. Most toaster ovens have a removable crumb tray. It's on the bottom and you can pull it out, and it's usually made out of a material that's easy to clean so things don't stick readily to it. I have found out that if the crumb tray that I have in my toaster oven, that if I just soak it for a few minutes, everything comes off really well. And then, like I said about the interiors, most toaster ovens do have some kind of coated interior that if you've splattered, you're done baking and you notice you've splattered on the walls inside, let it cool, unplug it, and then wipe it down, and it's really easy to clean that way. I have had toaster ovens that are convection. I've had non-convection toaster ovens. They say that convection circulates the heat and makes it more even, and I think that's quite true. There's a little fan in there that goes, you can hear it, and it circulates the heat, and for even temperatures, convection is the way to go. Do you need convection? Not necessarily. I find I use it, but not all the time, and I can get along fine without it. I did on my previous toaster ovens that I had. The controls are interesting too, because I personally like a keypad control. Others are equipped with dials and you know, you can slide the controls back and forth or dial. And I really find that I like the keypad. I think it's easy to clean, and it's certainly easy to use. And then most toaster ovens have a timer, and you know, you can set it for up to several hours. And I find a timer to be a really, really important feature. A lot of toaster ovens also have auto off. I don't, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything, but if you are away from your toaster oven for a length of time, that feature would be very important, because it will automatically turn off after a certain temperature is reached. I also have a section in my cookbook about where to put your toaster oven. This is just sort of a self-evident thing, but because it is an oven, whether it has a cool touch exterior or not, you don't want curtains by it or blind cords. You want to have a clear space around it. You want to have plenty of space so you can get into it, put your food into the oven, and bring it out without having it crowded in any way, or the tray bumping up against anything. So you have to have some space for your toaster oven. You might want to consider, if you have kids, to put it in a safe place where they can't reach up and, you know, and inquiringly touch the toaster oven by mistake and get burned. So those are some of the things you could consider. I have near my toaster oven always a trivet or a hot pad. I have my oven mitts. I have something called Tough gloves, which I use a lot, which is just it's a glove that's like a hot pad. And I highly recommend also tongs, and the metal tongs are great because you can reach into it. Even though I have a shelf that comes out, a rack that comes out like most toaster ovens do, some, if you open the door, automatically the rack will come out. Nevertheless, tongs are really, really great to control pulling pans out or testing things. I highly recommend getting a pair of tongs. So there's plenty of good ways of researching and finding just the toaster oven you want, just the size with all the features that you want. One I discovered too is that people have contacted me about rediscovering their toaster oven, that they really didn't ever quite know what to do with it except make toast. So again, here are over 250 recipes just for your toaster oven. They're really good and healthy recipes. And so if you're in the process of rediscovering your toaster oven, I really highly recommend my cookbook. So I hope this has been useful for you. If you have further questions, of course, you can make a comment right at the end of this video, and I definitely appreciate all of your input, and enjoy baking in your toaster oven.